Hello guys, I hope that you're all doing well. We're going to go ahead and go over our example questions that you guys did together. So the first one is multiplication. You guys were doing it yesterday. You guys did an awesome job. So we're going to go ahead and do a little more practice. As you remember, when you're multiplying, you want to multiply the numerators first, then the denominators. And if you have an outside number, you can either break it apart to make it easier. So what we're going to do is 4 times 1 is 4. And we have 2 times 5, that's 10. And then if we multiply that by 3, there's an invisible 1 right there. So that's going to be 12 over 10. And when we reduce that, that's 1 and 2/10. And when we simplify that, that gets us 1 and 1 over 5. So that'll be our answer for the first one. The second one, just a different color. So we got 3.14 times 3.45. Now this is a benchmark fraction. 3.45, or I'm sorry, 3/4 is the same thing as 0.75. That being said, you can turn this into a fraction and multiply that, or you can go ahead and turn this into a decimal and multiply that, whichever you're comfortable with. For this case, I'm going to go ahead and use a decimal. So 3.14 times 0.75. If you move this away 2 times and you move this 2 times, we get 40. And once we're done, we're gonna put that decimal back 4 spots to the left. So we're gonna move it, and once we're done, we're gonna move it back. So this would be our new number, 314 times 75. That gets us 20, 5, 6, 7, and that's 15. That should be 7 times 4 gets us 28. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 2 is 9. 7 times 3 is 21. So we get 0, we get 5 right here, 15, 16, we get 2, and, or actually that should be a 3. So we get 0, 7 plus 8 is 15, get a 1 right there. That makes 16, we should bring a 1 right there. So this number should be a 3 actually. And this would be a 2. But we have our decimal, so we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and 4. And our answer should be 2.365. Number 3, we're going to do a little more fractions. This one is addition first, and then multiplication. So we're going to want to do what's in the parentheses first, and then multiply that. So what we can do is we can turn this into an 8. So this becomes 8, and that becomes 10 plus 2 over 8. So we can either do that, or we can reduce that down to 1 over 4. But when we add this, we get 12 over 8. And once we reduce that down, it becomes 6 over 4. And we can still reduce that down. That becomes 3 over 2. So we have 2/3, and we have 3 over 2, and we're going to multiply that across. We're going to get 6 over 6, and that's actually going to equal 1. Now for the last one, so we have 40 hours in that entire week, and we want to know how many hours are missing. So Sunday we have 8 hours, Tuesday we have 7 hours and a quarter, and Wednesday we have 8 hours and a half. So what we need to do is we need to add these numbers plus whatever numbers these are, and we're going to get 40 hours. So if you work backwards, you'd basically be subtracting 40 hours from the amount of hours we have here. So let's find out how many hours we have here first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the two fractions first, and then I'm going to go ahead and bring that 8 in after. So let's turn this into, let's write it as a whole. 7 plus 1/4 plus 8 plus 1/2. So we can add these two first. 1/4 plus 1/2. That gives us 8, 2. Do a little smiley face method. These connect. So 2 times 1 is 2. 1 times 4 is 4. Then we have our 8, so that's going to give us 6 over 8. So we add 7 and 8, and we get 15 and 6 over 8. And then we add our 8 hours right there plus 8, and that'll give us 23 hours and 6 over 8. Now we do the subtraction part. We're going to go ahead and subtract that from 40. So we have 40 minus 23 and 6, 8. So let's go ahead and work this one out now. So what we want to do is we want to reduce this first to make it easier. That's a big number. 23 and 3 over 4. So you can either turn this into a fraction or turn it into a decimal. Personally, I think a decimal is easier. 40 and 23.75. So if we borrow this, it becomes 39.1. And this would be a 0 right here, since there's nothing. Cannot subtract 5 from 0, so we need to borrow 1. That's going to become a 0, and this is going to become a 10. That's 5 right there. So we cannot subtract 0 from 7, so we need to borrow from that. That's going to become an 8, and this is going to become a 10. 7 subtracted from 10 gives us 3. 8 minus 3 gives us 5, and 3 minus 2 gives us 1. So that would be our answer, 15.35. If we want to turn this into a fraction, all we got to do for that decimal is put it over 100. So 15.35 is the same thing as saying 15 and 35 over 100. If we want to reduce this, let's find a common denominator, which would be 5. We can do 7 over 20. And that would be our answer. That would be the same thing as that number right there. So either answer is acceptable.